All right, it's an emergency show today. We're throwing it together because the Giants signed an outfielder in Harrison Bader. So we want to talk about that. Susan Slusser joins me again. Susan, how we doing? How you feeling?
Great. Yeah, we finally have something to talk about. So yeah, we were like, oh, this, I'm not sure emergency. This is like cause for celebration. So we've had so little to discuss this off season. So I hope people are excited about this. You want to show the breaking news story here?
Yeah, do it. Oh, look at how
All right.
fancy.
Yeah.
Giants
Yeah. So
land
that's
outfielder.
it's on the Chronicle website right now. Lots of information about Harrison Bader. Now he's still got to take his physical, so this probably won't be announced for maybe another day or two. He has had some injury seasons in the past, but nothing. I didn't see anything last year that was alarming. So, but we all learned you never know. We used to think that a physical was a foregone conclusion, but
Well, he had that
maybe not.
hamstring and he missed the playoffs with the Phillies. I mean, when he got to the Phillies this year, he rejuvenated that ball club.
Yeah.
Their outfield wasn't playing really well defensively. It took Rob Thompson a minute to get him in there every day. And then once he became part of that lineup every single day, the Phillies, he was the heart and soul. I mean, the fans were going nuts about him. He was making great plays on defense. He had that cockiness and that swagger, but he was backing it up with his play. And as we both have been talking about a lot on this podcast, the Giants outfield defense has been a big question mark. So I don't know if he's an everyday guy for the Giants, but maybe him and Jung Hoo Lee switch off righty lefty. Jung Hoo can hit lefties though, so we'll see. I saw a mock lineup, Susan, and I'll just say this, and then I'll let you talk. This was on MLB.com. Elliot Ramos leading off. Rafael Devers batting second at first base, hitting third at shortstop, Willy Adames, batting fourth at third, Matt Chapman. Batting fifth in right field, Jung Hoo Lee. Batting sixth in center field, Harrison Bader. The DH in the seventh spot, Bryce Eldridge. Batting eighth at second base, Casey Schmidt. And batting ninth and doing the catching catcher, Patrick Bailey. See, I had to practice for the broadcast coming up. But that lineup sounds okay, right?
It sounds okay. I mean,
Getting there?
it's not in this division, we're still not talking Dodgers Padres level. But what does this do to Jung Hoo Lee overall? I mean, he has played a lot of right. I went and looked at his KBO stats, and he's got more than 200 games of experience in right. He's a good outfielder. Honestly, with his arm, which is okay, I think he'd be fine there. But people think moving from center field to right field, oh, that's easy. Not necessarily at Oracle Park. Right field has got a huge amount of challenges itself, especially the way the ball can come off the wall sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know if Bader at 31 is an everyday player, so we'll see. But Jung Hoo Lee does have a good arm, and he does have a right field arm. And I think of PNC Ballpark in Pittsburgh, where that left center field is huge, and they generally put like Starling Marte played left field because there was so much room to cover in left center. Oracle Park's the same way. You can have two center fielders, one in right and one in center, to cover triples alley. So whichever guy plays where, I think Jung Hoo Lee has the right field arm, which would inhibit a lot of teams from going first to third on a base hit to right. I mean, his arm was the thing that surprised me the most of his game last year. And I think back to that Yankee series when he hit the home runs, but he made some throws in Yankee Stadium in that series that we were in the booth going, wait, we didn't know he was bringing this to the party. So I don't know what the Giants are going to do. I just like the Bader thing. He hit 305 in that short stint with the Phillies, 361 on base percentage. He was hitting clutch home runs. And the Giants need a little swagger. They need a little cockiness. They need a little edge to their game, a la Drew Gilbert. And who knows, these two are going to be best friends the way I see it. But I like this signing a lot. We've been talking about Harrison Bader on our show here all off season, and I'm really excited about. I get excited about everything, but I think this guy's a solid ball player and just what the Giants need.
Well, why Bader? I like as our little helpful hint there says. I mean, among other things, he's cheap. 20.5 million for 2 years. That's total. That's not per year. That's total. That's I think the Giants are getting a nice bargain here. He's a very, he's a Gold Glove. He's won a Gold Glove. He's got very good speed. I'm gonna put up. These are his StatCast measurements from last year. The red is above average. The blue is below average. You can see here when it comes to the fielding, any of the fielding considerations, he is well above average. He used to be much more so. That Gold Glove was in 2021. And you can see, there's not a lot of walks. There's some strikeouts in that game, but he's got good bat speed. And you always kind of look at that and go, wonder what a new team might do there. I think that would be really nice when you got some speed. It would be nice to see them maybe work with him on adding some more walk to his game. I think that would be great, but I'm sure he's been hearing that throughout his career. When you talk about swagger, I think most people know from his brief time with the Yankees, he's from the Bronx. So went to Horace Mann High School, which is kind of a legendary high school in the Bronx. So lots of politicians and actors and athletes and all sorts of people from that very high profile school. So he comes with, I think some edge. I tend to like that. Sometimes that can rub people the wrong way. So we'll see where that goes. But this is a team that could use a lot of edge, I think. So I'm all for it.
Well, with his manager and the energy he has and some of the players, including Drew Gilbert, I think that this could be a perfect fit for him. And yeah, I've heard all the preparatory school stories about him. He's a rich kid from New York and this and that. I always like to judge people for myself when I meet them. You can hear rumors about people and how they are. I remember before I came to the Giants, everybody was like, "You're going to hate Barry Bonds." And from my first day as a Giant, he became a good teammate and a good friend, and we're still good friends. He treated both of my kids, so incredibly when I was a Giant. But like when I was signing with the Giants, everybody's like, "Watch out for Barry Bonds. You're not going to like this guy." So the way I do things is I like to judge people for myself. And so the play on the field for me with the Phillies this year in a pennant race spoke for itself. The guy there's no moment too big for him. He likes to be on the big stage. He likes the attention and he comes through, man. He's a clutch player. He go get him in center field. I don't know that the arm strength is real good. I don't know what you had on that chart just now, but his range in the plays he makes when he was with the Cardinals, when he was with the Twins and the Giants were playing the Twins and we were in Minnesota covering that series, he was playing left field, but he got a lot of big hits. But he can really go get him in center field. So, yeah, this is an exciting day for Giants fans. And I don't know if they're done yet. So, like, we've been waiting for a big sign. Is this a big sign? I don't know, but it's a nice fit to the puzzle. And it seems like the puzzle is using patience. And there still might be some deals to be done. I know we're about 2 weeks away from spring training. But yeah, I think this is great. And I was with Tony Vitello and I did a Q&A with Giant season ticket holders on Friday, and he was mentioning Harrison Bader and they were talking and he said they're close. So I had some inside information. I was getting excited about it. And then Tony was asking me about outfielders. Can they play wherever? And he feels like at the major league level, a big league outfielder should be able to play whatever position. And having played all three, I know there's challenges to right and left. Center was easy for me. I was a high school wide receiver, so it was just like catching passes because the ball doesn't hook or tail. Every once in a while you get a riser. Every once in a while you get a knuckleball that's kind of weird. But when you play left field, the ball's either going to hook off a right-handed bat or tail, and it's on you. I always felt claustrophobic playing left field. Like I'm right behind the shortstop, and all those big right-handed hitters barrel up the 100-mile-an-hour exit velos, and it's on you. And you only have to have an adequate average, maybe even below average arm to play left field. Center field, I feel like you got to have an average to above average arm. And when I say average, you know this, Susan, major league average arm is a good arm. And then you have to be average to above average in right field. So I don't know where everybody's going to play. Tony was talking about mixing and matching and thinking guys could play wherever, and we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, they've been on Harrison Bader for a while now, and I think there was a few challenges in getting him signed, and now he's here. And hey, with the whole Correa thing, the physical is a big deal. We used to just talk about, pending physical like that was nothing. But Bader was hurt last year, and it was a soft tissue thing, and he couldn't go in the playoffs. And that guy's a gamer. So, if he couldn't go. And I can't remember, Susan, and I probably should have looked at this before we went on, if it was a hamstring or a groin. I want to say it was a hamstring. In soft tissue injuries, and especially hamstrings, sometimes, and Oracle Park, that's not a conducive place to that. So hopefully he's fully healed. He passes a physical and he can still get on his horse and go get him.
He does have a history of some of those kinds of things. He's had previous seasons where he's had, a few soft tissue injuries here and there, which you would expect from a guy who's a good base runner, fast base runner, steals bases, and is also an outfielder. I mean, that this happens, especially playing in some cold weather places, which he was. You hope maybe playing on the West Coast more often will lessen some of those things. Sometimes that is the fact, but he's also 31, so we shall see. What does this do now to Luis Matos, who's out of options? Do we assume that he's gone? Could he win a fifth outfielder spot, or are you looking for something different from perhaps a fifth outfielder? I just assume the fifth outfielder is probably Drew Gilbert.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about Luis Matos is like he has talked about it publicly, probably with you, and I've heard about it publicly that he has trouble when he's not playing every day. That minor leaguers that are prospects, they play every single day. Then all of a sudden you come up to the big leagues and you sit for 5 days, and then you got to go face A-list celebrity pitcher, and it's hard for some kids to get used to. And he's had a lot of opportunities, and I think the talent level is there, but as far as a big league center fielder, I watch him do the and then go get the ball thing a lot in center field. Where at the highest level, when it's going like this, you can't go and go get the ball. It's got to be boom, and you work on your breaks. Boom, you do that every day so that the game moves so fast. It's coming at you 110 miles an hour. You got to get great jumps, and that's something that you work on every day in batting practice. You work on it in spring training. But I guess the moral of this is I don't know if he's a bench guy. I think he would flourish on another team as an everyday guy. I don't know if he's all-star caliber, and that's not for me to say. I would love for him to have a chance to do that, but he really hasn't had the opportunity to play every day as a Giant. And some guys just can't wrap their head around that. They don't know how to stay ready. They don't know how to stay fresh. I had trouble with it at the end of my career, having one at bat dictate my day. So you're going up there in the 8th inning, you're pinch hitting, and you go 0 for 1, and now you got to drive home thinking about the 0 for 1. And that's all you have. Whereas if you're a starter and I ground out the short, I still got 3 at-bats left, I go 3 for 4. So my mentality, as you could probably imagine, wasn't really suited for being a bench guy, even though I embraced it and I said, this is my role, I'm going to figure it out. But for a 20-something kid that's a prospect, that's a huge adjustment.
Absolutely. I hope he winds up with a team, a young rebuilding team, where he can get that, a really good long run. And, a couple months or two, we'll see if he actually is a big leaguer or not. I really like some of the skill sets that we've seen over the years. We've seen flashes. I know Giants fans have been kind of frustrated with that, like to see him more, but he couldn't sustain it. And you're very right. He would sit for a few days and then just really get out of whack. And not for lack of effort, nothing like that. It just wasn't something, it was not in his wheelhouse. He had not learned how to do that yet. And I've talked so much about Wilmer Flores and appreciating his game. It is so hard to have that role. And he did it for a long time, including as a young player, coming off the bench and having great at bats. It's really tough, playing once or twice a week. So yeah, this will be interesting with Bader. So obviously a right-handed hitter, so he would get the bulk of time if they decide to do a split sort of based on handedness in center. But I think that if you sign somebody like him, you probably want him in the lineup more often than not anyway. And we'll see how Jung-Hoo looks in right. I got to think that that's what the plan is. We had Fan Fest going on this weekend, as you know, since you saw Tony the night before. We had San Ramon, ton of people in
12,000.
It was really extraordinary. I don't think that they were expecting quite as much. So there is some interest. I would say a lot of that is Vitello, but Logan Webb was there, and that's the first time we've really gotten a chance to talk to Logan about the WBC. So maybe not quite as exciting news as talking about finally getting an acquisition here, but Logan Webb, this is kind of low key important, and everyone really needs to keep an eye on it. He's a horse. I don't think there's too much to worry about, but the Giants really did not want Logan Webb participating in this. Buster Posey was clear, and I certainly understand his thinking, that he really likes it when starting pitchers participate in the WBC sort of later in their careers, a la Clayton Kershaw, Adam Wainwright, guys like that, Scott Kazmir, who essentially was done with the majors when he was in the Olympics. So Logan's like, yeah, I know how they feel, but I've been talking to Mark DeRosa for 3 years. So since the end of the last WBC, really, he's like, this is my decision. So it's not a lot of juggling because a starting pitcher is going to get a set number of starts during the spring, appearances, what have you, might not necessarily start every game. And they already have that mapped out. The WBC, the Team USA can work around that. The Giants have a training staff with the WBC, with Team USA. So I think they probably have less reason to worry about Logan than maybe some other pitchers. What are your thoughts on Logan in particular in the WBC and pitchers in general?
Well, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, Logan bowed out of that late during spring training one year in Scottsdale, saying that he wanted to set a clubhouse vibe, and he was scheduled to pitch in the last WBC, but he said he didn't want to. I've talked to Mark DeRosa about it before, and he said the biggest challenge for him is he hears from every GM, every president of baseball operations, they want to take care of their guys. I trust Logan Webb. I do. But I also know that Logan Webb's maybe the most competitive guy, or one of the most competitive guys I've been around. He's super old school. My fear is that no matter how he trains, no matter how ready he is, that when Shohei Ohtani's up there for Japan and the game's on the line, he's going to reach back, and the competitive juices and the nature just takes over. It does. You're not out there on the mound going, well, I'm going to be pitching in July against the Dodgers, and you just go, I want to throw this pitch and I want to strike him out, and I want to get back to the dugout to a bunch of high fives, and I want a standing ovation, and the competitiveness is going to take over. So I'm a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie. I'm happy for Logan Webb. He posted all those, the Giants posted with the USA jersey on, and what a great honor to represent your country in any way. One of my dreams as a kid was to play on the USA Olympic team. I saw them play at Candlestick, and it was Barry Larkin at short and Will Clark at first, and Mark McGuire was the DH, and Oddibe McDowell's in center field. And I'm sitting there going, man, I want to make the Olympic team someday. I want to wear our nation's colors and get a gold medal. Well, I understand. It's just the timing of it, man. Your body's not ready to ramp up for playoff situations in March. And that's what this essentially is. It's going to be like pitching in October in March. So, I'm selfish. I want Logan Webb to start 33 times for the Giants and win a Cy Young for the first time, because he's been so close all these years, and I don't want anything to happen. So maybe I'm sounding like a dad here. I don't want to sound like get off my lawn, I'm an old guy, but Logan's one of my favorites. I just hope that he gets through this okay.
I agree with you, and I especially with the part that Logan is such a competitor. He's going to go all out. I mean, the adrenaline is just going to be pumping. And I had to laugh the other day during Logan's Q&A session in San Ramon. He was asked about the WBC and the fact that Jung-Hoo Lee said he really wants to get a hit off of Logan. Obviously, we don't know if Korea is going to come out of that pool. I think they probably will, or if they'd wind up facing each other. But that's the one guy he singled out that he wants to get hit off. And Logan was sort of like, I love Juggy. Like, come on, what's up with that? That's another one to keep an eye on. Logan was talking about, that how exciting it is to be teammates with somebody like Aaron Judge. I mean, this is really a big deal for players, and I see all sides of it. But if I were a team, I'd be awfully nervous too. Logan Webb's their most valuable player for me, and I would not want, if I were the Giants, I would want him treated with absolute kid gloves. So a lot of that's going to be up to Logan. He has to really be careful. There are other guys, though, including Harrison Bader, who I believe has plans to play for Team Israel. He was supposed to in 23. He has said that he's going to. I don't know if that's actually been officially announced or confirmed, but that certainly sounded like a plan. And then I was talking to Tristan Beck the other day, and he's playing for, kind of my, I've got the soft spot for Team GB, Team Great Britain. His mom, Lucy, is from the UK. So both Tristan and his brother, Brendan Beck, will be playing for Team Great Britain. Jazz Chisholm, Harry Ford, whose real name is Harrison, so he's Harrison Ford, also Team GB. So very, very exciting on that. And then I'm not sure. I think Elliot Ramos is supposed to play for Team Puerto Rico, but he's not on their official roster. And Willie Adames and Rafael Devers are on the Dominican roster, but neither's been actually confirmed. So I don't know what to think elsewhere.
I was with Tristan in Scottsdale recently, and he had just gotten the call before he came and met us for dinner. And he was like over the moon. I'm like, dude, congratulations. That's awesome. He told me about his mother's ties to Great Britain, and he's pitching for, is it Great Britain, London, England, whatever. That's super cool for him. What a great opportunity that is. And same thing. Be careful. Just be careful. I don't know how you can't play baseball careful because that's when you get hurt. So that's where this whole thing is a double-edged sword for me. Like, I'm happy for Tristan. I'm happy for Logan. I'm happy for Jung-Hoo. And I'm sure Buster and Zach and everybody in the Giants organization is just going to hold their breaths. Maybe just look the other way. Like the guy that was climbing the building the other night on Netflix. I just had the free solo. I couldn't watch. My hands were sweating. It's kind of same thing. Just look the other way. I couldn't watch that. But I'll be into it. I mean, hypocritically, I'll be into it because I'm always rooting for the USA. And I love Mark DeRosa. And boy, they put a squad together. We'll see. We'll see if those guys are ready to compete like it's October and March.
Yeah, that's fun stuff. One other snippet I have for you from FanFest. Chatted with Hayden Birdsong because people keep mentioning Birdsong sort of unprompted, including Logan Webb. He was asked about the rotation and completely unprompted started talking about Hayden Birdsong and how excited he is for Hayden this year. So chit-chatted with Hayden and asked what he thought really jumped out with what went wrong last year when he suddenly started walking people left and right. The ERA took a jump, the strikeouts dipped. We all know he was a mess. And then he gets sent to Sacramento in late July, really was doing the same things in Sacramento the rest of the way. That's why we never saw him again after, those first couple of months. He was fantastic. Now, a lot of it was out of the bullpen, but even his first few starts, he looked really like a find. And the stuff is so great. It's there. He says his mechanics, and he kind of was demonstrating. I don't know if I can really do it for you,
Susan. I want to see. Come on.
He said he was over bending, which apparently kept going like this. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, I'm leaning over to the side. So he was throwing himself really off center somehow. And he said, of course, this makes sense. His arm slot was affected. He said it kind of. I'm going to lean over, and your arm slot goes up on the other side. So he's ironed that out. He said the changes he's made, he said you might not even see with the naked eye. So I don't think it's anything that extreme, but it was all in conjunction working with the new coaching staff. He's really liking what he's seeing. He's been in Phoenix since November 15th. This is new for him. He usually stays in Illinois. He said this is the first time he's been able to throw in cleats in an off season ever. So he's going to be ahead of the game from where he usually is and hopes to have all of this ironed out. But Logan Webb was sold. He's seen him throwing and he says he looks great. So we keep talking about the rotation, FP, but if you get one guy out of that group of Birdsong, Wisenhunt, Seymour, Trevor McDonald, once there's a need, or maybe if somebody's lights out during the spring, maybe that solves sort of your underwhelming right now back end of the rotation issues.
Wait, you were a badass catcher, right?
Oh, yes, super badass.
So you guys,
yes,
Susan used to play, and she was a catcher, and she's a badass. So when she's doing the throwing, she knows exactly what she's talking about.
Oh, a legend of the Mission Trail Athletic League.
I've heard all the stories. Every year she was what gets better and better and better about the high school and college softball stories.
Yeah, the tiniest possible conference. And for a school that had really only recently gone co-ed, so our girls sports teams were pretty awful. But nevertheless.
Sorry, the ADD moment sponsored by Adderall. Interesting enough, at the Tony Q&A thing, we were taking questions from fans, and somebody stood up and said, Tony, of all of your players on your current roster, who are you most excited about? Who are you most excited to work with on a daily basis? And guess who he said? Hayden Birdsong.
Yeah.
He's been
saying that. He's been dropping that. Yeah.
I thought he was going to say Chappie, or like, I can't wait to see Devers play every single day, or Adames and I have really bonded on the Korea trip. Jung-Hoo Lee, there's so much more meat on the bone with him as a player. and he went right to Hayden Birdsong, and he started talking about the things you're talking about, how valuable he is to the organization, how I've talked to players on the team that said he has the best stuff, bar none, in the organization. Not
It's
win the
elite.
Giants, in the whole organization.
It's
So
elite.
I thought that was real interesting for the manager to bring him up when there's a lot of other names I thought he was going to bring up. So I think the Giants, based on what we're hearing and what you're saying, are really banking on Hayden Birdsong being right. I think it was more mental than physical. We can talk about this all we want. But when
Yeah, I think we broached it a little bit before, but yeah, once it gets in your head, right?
Yeah,
It's hard to.
I'm not saying he's crazy, but once the wheels started spinning, you could see it on the mound. He's so demonstrative. There is no poker face with Hayden Birdsong. When he's going good, he's walking around like Ebby Calvin LaLoosh, and he's like, wow, that was a great curveball, and he's so confident. But man, I was in the game in Colorado when it was a snowball fight, and he didn't know where it was going. And having never pitched, pitchers tell me that's the loneliest place on the planet when you can't throw a strike. And I was in the booth calling the game, and I felt so bad for him because he just didn't know where it was going. And it was getting borderline the yip word. And I was getting nervous that here's this kid in his early 20s that could be a superstar and an ace on a lot of staffs. This guy's got number one stuff. And it was starting to get weird. So I hope all the weirdness is gone. I hope the confidence is back. We saw him in fantasy camp. He was nice enough to come over and talk to the campers. He was in kangaroo court. Great dude. But he seemed to have that swagger back. So that, to me, it's not about this or this. It's about believing in yourself and going out there and just going right after guys and believing you can.
He's smart. He's funny. He's pretty self-aware, which is not something you always see in a young athlete. I really expect big things from him if he's got this ironed out, which, sometimes there's no quick fix to something like this. But here's another point. When I talked to him last year, early in the season, when the Giants' numbers against opposing base runners were so much better, largely because of Logan Webb really cleaning up the way he was handling base runners. But I talked to every member of the rotation and a couple of the relievers. And at that point, Hayden was in the bullpen. And we were talking about windups and versus pitching out of the stretch. As most people know, most relievers don't use a windup at all. Hayden was using a windup when the bases were empty. And he said it was his first year using a windup since he'd been in college. So there he is. He winds up, obviously coming out of the spring. Nobody knew whether it was going to be a starter maybe in Sacramento or in the bullpen in San Francisco. But he was using the windup. Obviously, when he becomes a starter, he's using the full windup. He said he has not thrown out of the windup this offseason, and he might not. He said unless the new bunch of coaches comes up with something where he feels really more comfortable, he might just go out of the stretch all year. I've got no problem with that. But we have also talked about with the bullpen FP, some of these young guys might wind up there because that might be where there's the biggest need. If all things kind of go as projected with the rotation, I don't necessarily mind Birdsong in the bullpen. I'd like to see him with maybe a bigger role if he can handle it. We'll see. I don't want him to just be like the basically sixth starter, emergency starter in the bullpen mopping games up.
Well, historically speaking, when you have tall guys with long levers, it's hard to repeat your delivery. Repeatability is harder with the taller guys that are skinnier and they have all kinds of stuff going on. And to get there, we all remember Tim Lincecum, right? When he was having a tough game, he would go out of the stretch with nobody on out of nowhere because all of this was off. And so his like 3-wood instead of a driver, if you will, was going out of the stretch. But yeah, man, here's the thing. And I was told this by a reliever who's recently retired. And he told me that his philosophy of the bullpen is just get wins in April and May. Like piece it together however you piece it together. Because if you ride your horses early, look at bullpen's numbers who have the lowest ERA at the All-Star break. They always go south in the second half. So if you could just piece it together, stack up wins in April and May and June, and be in the mix, then at the trade deadline, you can go out and get pieces to the bullpen that might be fresh. Or if you have to use your bullpen, it's more fresh in the second half. The biggest mistake a lot of managers make is they want to get out of the gate and they're just cracking the whip on these guys and they're using them too much. And look at the numbers after the All-Star break. Bullpen ERAs always go in the tank unless you just piece it together, get some wins, find some guys at the All-Star break. So I haven't panicked about the bullpen since I heard that all off season. Just find a way to piece it together initially. And then if you're in the mix at the All-Star break, you go out and get a guy here. The Nationals did that in DC when they won the World Series. They went out and got some guys at the trade deadline, I'm saying All-Star break, at the trade deadline, and they got some guys and pieced it together.
Hey, Ryan Walker told me he wants that closer job back, and I like that. Wrote a story on that at some point last week. I love the fact that he is coming out with that. He's pretty quiet, not real demonstrative kind of guy, and he's like, "No, I want it. I'm just going to float." He just came flat out and said it.
Good.
That I think that's an interesting shift maybe in mindset. And he said my mindset's changed. So I liked it. And he feels like he's ironed out some of the mechanical things that he was dealing with. You talk about guys who are prone to mechanical problems, a guy that's crossfire like that, the funky deliveries are always a little bit hinky, I think, sometimes when it comes to mechanics. And sometimes coaching staffs are like, I don't know. So that would solve a lot of problems. If they have a young guy or two who winds up finding a nice niche in the bullpen, and if Ryan Walker can be anything like he was 2 years ago, fantastic.
I like the attitude. I like that he's saying that.
Yeah.
But saying that and getting out on the mound in front of 40,000 people with a 1-run lead in the 9th inning and staring that beast right in the eye and overcoming whatever was going on last year are two different stories. So if I'm Tony Vitello, maybe I bring him along in high leverage situations earlier in the game, build a confidence level up until all of a sudden there's a need in the 9th inning. But I can say it all I want, Susan, until you got to look that thing right in the eye, man. You got to go out there and you got to overcome whatever was going on. And we could see it. We talked about it on this podcast. We talked about it on the broadcast last year. It started going fast, just like Hayden Birdsong. And all of a sudden, he's getting the ball shaking and going, getting the ball shaking and going. And before you knew it, it was 4 pitches and 3 runs. And this is a guy with wipeout stuff 2 years ago. The nastiest hitters are telling him it's the nastiest stuff that you could tell me it's coming and I can't hit it. But something went a little wacky with maybe the lights and all the stuff we talked about and being the closer. That's a lot of responsibility, right? If I get these 3 outs, we win. If I get these 3 outs, we're shaking hands, which is huge. It's hard to win one game, just one game of the big leagues. And if you get away from the process of staying pitch by pitch, hitter by hitter, 1 pitch at a time, and that's the process, you look up and the 3rd out's made and you're shaking hands. But if you start to get ahead of yourself and thinking, oh, I'm 2 outs away, I'm 1 out away from winning this game, now you're losing your focus on the present, and that's that pitch.
Well, and confidence too. And Ryan's talked some about his struggles with mental health in past years, and he is really, he's had therapy. He's really worked through a lot of things. This is a stressful sport. All pro sports, I think fans sometimes discount how stressful they are. The pressure's enormous. The money now is enormous. And I would argue that relievers get more of that than anybody, especially now with the rise of legalized betting. They are constantly hearing from fans, not just in the crowd, but they get death threats pretty routinely. They have, there are all sorts of things that they deal with, like their social media. Usually now they say, if you're a reliever, especially, get off of social media. That's easier to say than do sometimes. And people see stuff. You see stuff. And if you don't, your wife or your agent or your best friend, people are relaying to you what people are saying. And it is not easy. So confidence can be all sometimes in a role like that. And I love hearing that. He is not a guy to toot his own horn. When he said it, I was sort of like, wait, what? And he said it a couple of times while we were talking. So that's neat. I hope it translates. So this is a fun time of year, FP, as we keep saying. We could just assume all of these things are going to work out, right?
Right. I used to get death threats before social media, but it was from my family.
Oh.
After games when I went over 4. All right, Susan, another episode in the books. Can I tease what's going to happen on Friday? Do you think I should?
I think you should. I mean, there's always a caveat that sometimes we have guests and they, travel schedules or just life sometimes interrupts. But we do have somebody who has agreed to join the pod on the show on Friday.
Bruce Bochy.
Bruce
Bruce
Bochy.
Bochy's coming on here, and we're
That's gonna be a fun one.
four-time World Series champion. Oh my God, I almost screwed that up. And future Hall of Fame manager who's back with the organization is going to join Splash Hit territory this Friday. So stay tuned for that, Susan. Great job once again. You guys like and subscribe and go. I mean, you got a former ball player here that's a broadcaster. You got a Hall of Fame beat writer here that's in the clubhouse every day. We're giving you a different perspective on this show. It's really going to ramp up and get super good once the season starts, and we can just be like, hey, Bryce Eldridge, you want to come on our show? And we're there every day, but we're there. I travel with the team. I'm in the clubhouse every day. Susan travels. She's in the clubhouse every day. So this is just a different vibe we're going to give you on this show. So tell all your friends about it. I forgot to pump it up at the Tony thing. There was like 600 people there that night. But I'm on KMBR tomorrow night, Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. So I will be pumping up our podcast, and I really don't care if the sports leader gets mad at me for doing that. So thanks for watching again, everybody, today. It was a fun one. Harrison Bader's a San Francisco Giant. We got a scrappy, clawy, fighty guy that's got a lot of swagger. Him and Drew Gilbert will be inseparable. Oh, my goodness, those two together. So it's going to be fun. Susan, thanks a lot for joining today.
Absolutely. Always my pleasure, FP. What do you say on the way out usually?
It's my motto for life. Swing hard in case you hit it on Splash Hit territory.